Hey, welcome back everybody. This is Mark Kern, Creative Director for Ember, the Mech vs. Kaiju online war game. What we're showing you here is basically our test level. This is where we do all the testing for the different tunings that we're putting into the OmniFrame movement demo. Right now we've just used the Unreal Mannequin and we have been hooking up various abilities like jetpacks to him, and we've been testing with him. There's an initial thrust that we've added on the way up. There's a dodge. If you double tap left and right, you can strafe left and right with your jetpacks. And there's a sort of e-brake. If you're falling too fast and you hit the space bar, you'll get a kind of extra oomph or kick up. Some of this is going to be, obviously skill-based, so basically timing and velocity are everything in this. And we always kind of want to get a little bit of skill into the game, just enough to give skilled players that extra edge that they can use with their own, Twitch-based muscle memory. We've also been importing our current assets into the new test rig. This is the human male and female. They've been completed for some time, but this is the first time we've got them into the test level. And we're also testing out different animation systems. We're switching here to a version of the advanced locomotion system that you can actually find on the marketplace. And we're testing it versus things like the Paragon animation nodes, which are coming out in the next version of Unreal, as well as a new third-party middleware app called iKinema, which is used for, say, multi-legged IK creatures and large creature attacks. I think we're going to end up using a blend of some of these different systems in order to get what we want. We want the movement to be really fluid. We want the character sort of like be able to dodge left and right organically. And so we're just testing it out here. And so we've got some steps to test IK. We've got a ramp to see if foot placement's on and off. And we're playing with camera here. So we're pulling the camera back when you run and easing it back in when you stop. And we're also trying out these sort of start and stop animations. So when you see the strafing here, you can kind of see the slight pause on the in and out. Tell us what you think about that. It gives a slight pause, but it has a more realistic feel, or do you just want, straight, slick backwards and forward movement with no pausing whatsoever? So that's it. That's our test level, and this has really been kind of how the sausage is made. The other thing we've been working on here is the glider test level. This is in a separate build, and we've been tuning the glider to make it easier to fly. A lot of you have had some frustrations with Firefall gliders stalling out when you nose up, and we notice this with a lot of new players. Oh, and by the way, the plasma cannon has the drop you guys asked for now. We've also added thermals here, so if we fly over this simulated lava pit, we'll catch an updraft. And this will allow you to basically buoy up in the air and if you circle it, gain more and more altitude. So we're trying out this as a different way of moving through the world. And we're playing with things like maximum speed, stall speeds, and there's our way too real physics crash right there that we're going to have to transition into a run state for the player. The last thing I wanted to mention was the OmniFrame adjustments for the animators. It turns out that you can build a cool looking OmniFrame, but if you actually need it to move and animate well, you have to take into account things like waist twists and shoulder pad twists and everything else. So we've had to go back to the drawing board here, and I've been cleaning up the model, adding and rebuilding things. The arm is completely new and rebuilt. The front cage is much more solid. Pieces are actually connected now rather than floating, and we've just been massaging the way that this works in general. Also for the glider, we want to install speed brakes. What you see here on the flaps here are speed brake flaps that can be deployed because we want to give another skill element to gliding where maybe you can do some wing overturns and other types of minor acrobatics using a little bit of English of the flaps. And here are just some real-time high-quality renders of what we have so far, the work we've been doing on the OmniFrame. This is straight out of Modo. Which has a really nice preview renderer, as you can see here. It just takes a few moments to update, but I think you can really appreciate the detail and the heart and soul that we're pouring into this model to try to make it the best it can be. Welcome back to Lore Drop for Ember. Last week we talked about the Gate Striders, and in particular, Saldaric Garrick, the discoverer of Ember. Last week, many of you pointed out that Garrick more or less only accidentally stumbled into the forbidden area of space known as a Black Zone, which led, of course, to the retaliatory destruction of the Gate Strider homeworld. Many said that they preferred the past lore, where the intrusion was discovered but deliberately provoked by aggressive exploration. After thinking about it, I agree. Garrick has an aggressive, even arrogant personality. I can really see her disregarding what she feels is a myth to push farther into the unknown and test the limits. So, I'm changing it back. Garrick and her team triangulated their position and realized they had intruded into a forbidden zone, but pushed on regardless. When they got the signal about their homeworld being destroyed, they rushed back to the gate, but only Garrick made it through. She bears the huge burden of the loss of her world and arrives at Ember hoping to redeem herself and maybe find an edge over the Inshigi so that they will no longer hold the rest of humanity hostage to their power. This week, we're going to talk about the Tsihu, the alien shape-shifting enemies of Ember that are trying to invade the planet and destroy the players and their terraforming and military bases. The Tsihu inhabited Ember long ago. How long is unknown. It is also unknown if they are the original inhabitants of Ember, or merely occupy the planet. But we do know that the Tsihu are not from our time. When the Tsihu invade, they do so through rips of reality, portals where we catch glimpses from the other side. Image capture and recognition AI of the portals show a night sky different from ours, and geography that is wildly varied. Ember is an icy and volcanic planet, but the worlds through the portals seem lush and full of life. At first we thought it was another planet entirely, but eventually when someone decided to run a regression of stellar data around Ember and compare it to the skies beyond the portals, it was a perfect match for this planet, only backwards in time by over 10,000 years or more. The exact date is unknowable, but it can be roughly estimated somewhere between 10,000 and 12,000 years ago. We also know that the Tsihu are shapeshifters. So far, we've only identified them in two forms. The humanoid form is technologically advanced, with beam weaponry, biotech-infused grappling hooks, and a sophisticated and information-dense language. The beast form is four-legged, with slashing bladed limbs and a ferrofluid-like mane that seems to change based on mood. The beasts are devoid of technology and fiercely feral. The Tsihu seem to be able to instantly and effortlessly shift between these forms at will. Their tactics are to lay down fire from afar before shifting to beast form and rapidly closing the distance to go hand to hand. The Tsihu seemed organized as a military, with leaders, squads, platoons, and effective military strategy. But rather than employ aircraft and ground armor or mechs, the Tsihu seem to have evolved an entirely different type of heavy weaponry. What can only be described as giant monsters accompany them through the portals, serving as their siege engines. The creatures vary wildly in appearance and size, with squat, six-legged creatures acting like tanks, and even giant flyers that can rain down biological fire upon our Reaper teams. There are rumors of even larger creatures, seen through the mists of the portals, towering above buildings and even mountains. We've yet to see one of these larger creatures come through a portal, and we dread the day they do. Taking a name from an ancient Earth language, we've called them Kaiju collectively, and started to categorize them into ranks based on size and weaponry. So far, we've identified 5 categories of Kaiju, from the swarm-like Category 0 all the way to the giant, theorized world-ender Category 5s we glimpsed through the portals. All of them seem to be infused with Tsihu technology, and we know that they employ shields in addition to their natural armor. Striking the vulnerable shield generators atop the spines of Kaiju seems to be the most effective way of bringing them down. We don't know why the Tsihu are invading their own future, or why our presence here seems to have enabled these rips in time and space to appear. We looked for answers amidst the ruins of the planet, sifting through the often beautiful stone and metalwork of what we presume to have been one of their cities. So far, we've not found any way to decipher their language. Not much seems to have been written down, and if there are terminals and computers, we've yet to find them, or recognize them. The architecture and technology of the ruins seems much more advanced and elegant than what we observed from the Tsihu themselves. But I guess that's natural since we are looking at their past selves. Yet, some have speculated that the ruins are different enough that they might come from another species altogether, perhaps one settling the planet after the Tsihu were gone. There is just so much we don't know, but we're trying to find answers as fast as we can. This is Dr. Alanado, leader of the Anthropological Surveying Team. We will be updating this preset as we continue our explorations in the field.